S&S Discount Tire Pros provides quality tires and auto repair in Alexander City and Dadeville. Give us a call at 256-215-8822 or visit us at one of our Central Alabama locations today.
My mother was going to nursing school to be a nurse anesthetist, so I was staying with my grandparents a lot. And they were kind of like, I don't know if you wouldn't say hippies, but they let me do whatever. So I started drawing on all the walls. So as I'd get taller, the drawings were getting a little bit better, but I drew on every wall in their house. It looked like exactly what you think it looked like. It was all doodles, and it started. And I remember thinking, I was probably 6, and I drew a whale, and it was big. And I thought, well, that looks pretty good. And I remember thinking I was getting better, but like all kids draw when they're little, I just kind of kept on going with it. I just loved it that much, so I never did stop. Most people did coloring in first grade, but 5th grade, they don't care nothing about it anymore, but I did, so I just kept on going with it. Yeah, I don't remember if they gave me the crayons or what they gave me, but there was markers, crayons, and whatever, and I was always trying to create something. And then by the time I was in 1st or 2nd grade, I was already known as, the teacher, let's get somebody to draw us a sun. Charles, you draw us a sun. Charles, you do this. So I was already, it was kind of a gift, I know you can learn to do things, and sometimes you get given, and if you get given and you'll work at it, you can, develop the talent. And I felt like it was coming on at the, I was known as an artist by 2nd grade, as an artist, I tell you, it was a chase for perfection, a chase for, trying to get somewhere. The reaction, it's good. Don't get me wrong, it's good when somebody says, hey, that's nice right there. But to me, I was always looking at it. Even now, if I look at anything I painted, all I can really see is what would I have done different? Could I have done that a little better? I could do that better. And so even then, it was always a chase for, this ain't really as good as I could be. I could be better than this. I want to be better than this. And so it was always that, and it's still there now. I'll hand the painting off, and I'm still like, I could have done a little bit better there. I have enough confidence to know it looks pretty good, but it's still always there a little bit. I was always fascinated with the human figure, portraits and all, because it seemed like the most challenging thing to draw, because if I drew you and I miss by a little bit, it don't look like you. And so that challenge was always great for me, and so I was like, I can do that, I can figure this out, I can know how to do this. So I remember winning an art contest in junior high maybe, and I had done monsters, but it was, like human figure monsters for a Halloween poster contest. And that was one of the first things I remember, because it showed the picture in the paper, and, I was looking at mine and go, hey, that did pretty good. It looked, kind of adulty, I guess, in the drawing sense. It was already looking decent by then, yeah. Most of the time, I'm gonna finish it, but there are times, two different things happen to me. Either it's not for somebody, it's for me, and I'll draw part of it, and I realize, oh yes, this is gonna be right, and it's gonna work out. Then I'll quit, because I know I already got it. And it's not for somebody, so I use finishing it. And the other times is like, my wife, I've attempted to draw and paint her about 3 or 4 times, and every time, about halfway through, she's telling me what's wrong with it. There's one hanging on the wall over here, and it ain't finished. Because I was outside, and it was dark, and I could look into the house, and I seen her over there looking at it. She was this close to it. And I come in, and she goes, my lips ain't right. I said, that looks exactly like your lips. She goes, no, it doesn't. I said, I'm not finishing that. You're the hardest client I've ever had. So she's had like 3 or 4 paintings that never got finished. No, it's just tough to negotiate with friends on price. Is the only real part. Is, if I've been knowing somebody 20 years, it feels weird to say, hey, this painting's whatever it is, and that part. The only other part is, even if they're not friends, I draw a lot. I'm blessed to draw people's loved ones. Like if you had somebody you really care about and you hire Charles to paint them, and it's somebody that might be passed, or it might be your child. And when I hand those paintings off, I try not to hand them off. I'm getting a little emotional now, but when I hand them off to somebody, most people start crying. And I've been there, I handed one off to a lady that had a son that passed in the 80s when he's 20 or less. And she started crying, and I started crying, and she was telling me how much she loved him, and I could see it, and she was all crying on that painting. And I said, Jody, told my wife, I said, you're going to have to drop these off now. Charles said, I was riding down the road, I had to pull over. I was like, if you nail that portrait right, most people start crying. Now I'm about to start crying thinking about that later, but that's what happened. I'm getting better at nailing it from the start. As I've learned, at times I did have to make adjustments. You'd get halfway through one, and I don't know if you notice, sometimes you take a photo in this place and it's kind of yellow. And I've gotten photos of people and their families sitting there smiling and their teeth are kind of yellow. And when I first painted them, I was painting exactly what it looked like. My wife comes in and goes, "You cannot paint their teeth yellow. Nobody wants to buy a painting with their kids' teeth yellow." And I said, "You are right." So I had to go back and fix stuff like that. And learn them kind of things on the way. But yeah, most of my starts depends on, like Ethan, I took that picture. So if I get a picture with some dramatic lighting, it turns out a better painting. So you can tell like the light's coming from that side. Hers is, you see the little shadows on her face, and even him. If it's lit straight ahead like a ring light, those paintings not as cool of a painting. I mean, it makes a good portrait photo, but not a painting. The paintings look better to me with more shadows and stuff like that to actually use, in my opinion. I try to imply detail more than actually paint it. So like, instead of drawing the threads in this shirt, I'll have the colors that are sitting beside each other to imply those threads are there. Like if you look closely at his buttons, they're just a blob of paint, really. But if you get the right colors next to each other, you can apply some of those details. Now, a lot of details around the eyes, I'll get a little tighter, but my goal is to paint a little bit loose on the stuff besides the actual facial features, and I still like to paint them a little looser because if you wanted a photograph, you could already have a photograph. You want it to look like a painting, and I want it to look like it's a classic, not some modern something or even a photo or anything. I want it to look like this painting was done 100 years ago, and by somebody. That's why a lot of 100-year-old paintings are dark. Have you ever been to the Capitol building in Montgomery? And all those old governor pictures, they're all pretty dark. And they got shadows on them. That's what I like to do, to try to capture that essence. Well, I was lucky enough to have a lot of friends and my wife and stuff to help me along the way, and not money, just to help me to see what I can. My buddy David McDaniel, he tries to coach me up as far as like how to be a businessman. When I'm digging into a painting, I'm not thinking about should this cost this, or I need to figure out how much I got in this, or how much time I got in this. I don't think about that thing. So he coached me on that kind of thing. So when I first started, my biggest fear was, not getting enough business. And my second biggest fear was not being able to handle it correctly, but it has gone pretty well. I'm a little more careful on what I spend because, when you have a real job, you're gonna get a paycheck this week, and you're gonna get one next week, and you're gonna get one next week. And when you do what I do, freelance, I never get paid unless I actually do it. So if I don't do anything this week, I don't make any money. So I'm a little more frugal in my spending. Not to say that I'm not making enough, but I won't, I don't know. You never know the future right now. And you really don't ever know it, but when you don't have that check coming this week, you really start thinking about it. That's the only real difference I feel, really. I do a lot of pencil drawings and a lot of charcoal drawings because there's no drying time. So like if you have a child you need and it's 2 weeks before Christmas, I can still do that. Unless I got 20 to do right then. But it don't have to be dry. Like a painting, it's gonna take 4 weeks. I might could squeeze 1 in 3, but it's gonna take 4. So if you don't plan far enough ahead, we're not gonna be able to do it by Christmas. And I have a few, I could probably do 2 or 3 more before Christmas if somebody wants one now, but that's probably all I could do painting wise. But I could probably do 30 drawings or more. It's probably no telling because there's no drying time. I can do it, set it over here, start the next one, just that they can go on out. So I do a lot of drawings and stuff at Christmas time. Plus it's not as expensive as a painting. Well, I've got a website, charlesforbus.com, and I got several Facebook pages, my main friend's Facebook page, but I also got a Charles Forbus Original Art Facebook and a Charles Forbus Art and Design. I try to keep separate. It's more digital and stuff like that, and the original art is more this kind of thing. So that way, if you don't care nothing about the other things, you can just go to the original art and you see this. But charlesforbus.com is probably the easiest way to find me. It's easier to remember.